Today we begin in Colombia, where the ELN has announced a Christmas truce as another move to pressure the government into resuming peace negotiations. The National Liberation Army said it has listened to petitions made by communities affected by the armed conflict. They will cease fighting from December 23rd until January 3rd. Back when the government of Iván Duque took office, it called off peace negotiations that were already taking place in Cuba since 2017. Our correspondent in Bogotá, Tatiana Portela, has details.
Today, the ELN announced a ceasefire that will begin on December 23rd, lasting until January 3rd. People in Colombia celebrated the decision and asked the government to resume peace talks, which have been paused for 5 months. President Iván Duque announced that the government will not meet with the ELN until they announce an end to all activity. Nonetheless, the Peace Commission have announced that they will insist on dialogue to achieve peace.
And the Declaration of Peasants' Rights has passed the final stage with a vote of the United Nations General Assembly. The 70-year-long process was initiated by the international peasant movement, La Vía Campesina, and was supported by numerous social movements and allied organizations. Only 8 countries voted against the resolution, including the United States, the United Kingdom, and Israel.
The result of the vote is as follows: 121 in favor, 8 votes against, and 54 abstentions. Therefore, the resolution is approved.
And earlier in Hungary, 2 lawmakers have been ejected from the headquarters of the country's public broadcaster after trying to read out a petition against a new labor law. They were amongst a number of members of parliament who protested against right-wing Prime Minister Viktor Orbán's policies by staying in the television station overnight. They are demanding the repeal of the new labor law. They want an independent media and for Hungary to join the European Union Prosecutor's Office. The new legislation has been labeled a slave law. More demonstrations are expected.
The FtS climb inside here in different waves. It seems like in Hungary the normal entrance to the building of a public institution doesn't exist anymore. All entrances have been closed, so this is the only way for FtS to get into an institution which is financed by the Hungarian taxpayers.
And on Sunday, thousands of Hungarians protested for the 6th time against their prime minister in Budapest and the new labor law. This new law allows employers to ask for up to 400 hours overtime work per year. Civil rights organizations said this new law may be last of the democratic institutions to be destroyed since Viktor Orbán took office in 2010. And earlier we spoke with Balázs Szeko, who was an independent journalist from Hungary. He gave us some insights on the ongoing protests in Hungary.
No, these protests are already bigger than just a slave law. These protests have become a huge anti-government movement, and this movement wants at least a 5-point petition to be read out in the state-owned television headquarters. And this is exactly what the MPs of the opposition tried to do last night. And I would like to highlight the 5 points. So repeal the slave law, that's number 1. Number 2 is less overtime hours for the police. Number 3, independent judiciary. Number 4 is joining the European Public Prosecutor's Office. And number 5 is free media. This scale is very diverse. It goes from the left-wing anarchists over socialists, over social democrats, liberals, conservatives to the right wing. It's a bit bizarre to see all these forces marching together for democracy, but this is the Hungarian reality. And they are united in one position, and the position is to be against FtS, to be against the government. FtS is the government party.
Venezuela has been marking the anniversary of the death of South American liberator Simón Bolívar. Speaking at an event with the Bolivarian Armed Forces, President Nicolás Maduro asked that servicemen and women protect and defend the country against foreign attacks.
Si algún día se atrevieran If one day they dare to touch even a bit of the sacred territory of the homeland, the militia and the Bolivarian armed forces must go out and expel any invading force that intends to touch the sacred ground of the land of Bolivar. The imperialists, the oligarchs, they come from Bogota or come from Brasilia. The oligarchs or traitors who sell their souls for a handful of filthy dollars from Colombia and the Northern Empire. They will not be able to defeat us. Neither imperialists, nor oligarchs, nor traitors will be able to triumph here. Here, the people will rule. Here, the people will triumph with their will, with their law.
We'll be back very soon. Stay with us. Welcome back. Candidates for the 2019 presidential elections in El Salvador held a debate on Sunday. Our correspondent in El Salvador, Ernesto Avalos, brings us the details.
The National University of El Salvador held the first face-to-face presidential debate for the elections, which are set for February 3rd. The FMLN candidate Hugo Martinez attended, as well as Carlos Calleja, the candidate for the Arena Party, and Josué Alvarado, the candidate for the Vamos Party. Absent at the debate is Nayib Bukele, who is aspiring for the presidency on behalf of Ghana, the New Ideas Party, and the Democratic Change Party. He didn't attend because he says he doesn't agree with the organizers from the National University. The debate touched on issues like the economy, education, human rights, and security. And with this debate organized by the university, the position of the parties and respective candidates who will be running in the upcoming elections have been made clearer.
And also in El Salvador, where Imelda Cortez, a woman who had originally been charged with murder for allegedly attempting to have an abortion, has been acquitted and freed after spending 20 months behind bars. Imelda says she never tried to abort her daughter, who survived her difficult birth. The case took a sudden turn when prosecutors changed the charge against her from homicide to abandonment and neglect. Protesters gathered over the weekend demanding justice for Imelda, who had been raped repeatedly by her stepfather since the age of 12. And a court in Colombia has sentenced the man to 20 years detention for the landmark murder case of a transgender woman. A criminal court has ruled that Davinson Steven Erazo Sanchez will be held in a psychiatric hospital for killing Ángela Ramos Claros. This is the second time a murder of a trans woman in Latin America has constituted a femicide. Diana Zacayan was the first trans woman to be murdered in 2015, and her case was treated as a femicide. And also in Colombia, the grandniece of late Nobel-winning writer Gabriel García Márquez has been rescued after being held captive by a group of paramilitaries for almost 4 months. Melissa Martinez Garcia was kidnapped in late August when leaving a banana farm near the northern city of Santa Marta along the Caribbean coast. They demanded a ransom of $5 million for her release. Colombian armed forces captured 11 people connected to the kidnapping. And Latin America is one of the most restrictive regions in the world when it comes to abortion rights. It has the highest proportion of Catholics in the world, as well as the highest rate of maternal mortality.
3 countries in Central America have a complete ban on abortion: Honduras, El Salvador, and Nicaragua, along with Haiti in the Caribbean. The Dominican Republic, Mexico, Panama, Ecuador, Argentina, Chile, and Brazil allow abortion in cases of rape, and so do Colombia and Bolivia, which also permit in the case of incest. Abortion is banned except when the life of the mother is at risk in Mexico, Guatemala, Panama, Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, Brazil, and Venezuela. Some other countries make further exceptions when there is a risk to the woman's health: Costa Rica, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia. Cuba and Uruguay have the most progressive laws in the area, with abortion being legal within certain time limits. Even after this period, abortion is still allowed in certain circumstances.
A communitarian television broadcaster from Buenos Aires has been demonstrating outside a commercial channel for being taken off air in what is being called an act of censorship. Barricada TV, a broadcaster with no commercial intentions and with an alternative agenda, says that their signal has been blocked in violation of the law by Clarín Group. Clarín is the largest multimedia company in Argentina. Barricada is demanding the reincorporation of the TV channel, established in the media law, and the enforcement of regulations. The South American trade bloc Mercosur has signed a memorandum of cooperation with the Euro-Asian Economic Union. Uruguayan Chancellor Rodolfo Ning Novoa said that the group signed a memorandum of economic and commercial cooperation with the Euro-Asiatic Economic Union, which represents the first trade approach to future between both regions. Additionally, other dialogues were concrete among China, Japan, and New Zealand. Furthermore, he highlighted that countries like India and Tunisia express interest in beginning contacts for a joint commercial agenda. In Paraguay, will propose Bolivia to be fully integrated into Mercosur. The 53rd meeting in the Southern Common Market Trade Bloc is being held in Uruguay's capital, Montevideo. Representatives from Bolivia are in attendance as the country awaits authorization as a full member. Mercosur was established in 1991 to promote free trade and the fluid movement of goods, people, and currency. Currently, only Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay are full members. Moving on, 600 more people have returned to Venezuela as part of the Return to the Homeland initiative implemented by the government of President Nicolás Maduro.
People continue to return to Venezuela. The most recent group coming from Ecuador and Peru. It's a relief for them to return to their home. They're carrying the same luggage with which they left.
I worked in the street, and the xenophobia was massive. I am very sad because I left many Venezuelan friends behind. I said that we should leave. You have to think about it. But if you're going to work for 14 hours, I'd prefer to work in my country and strive for my family.
Stories of exploitation and fake work offers unmask the reality of life in countries where they think they can resolve their problems.
When you're looking for a place to live, they treat you differently. If you're Venezuelan, they reject you. It happened to me on numerous occasions.
There are many cases of labor exploitation.
We are mistreated. They exploit us. We work many hours, which isn't an issue. The problem is that often they do not pay us for working all those hours.
Experts insist that there is an international campaign to politicize the flow of Venezuelan migrants in order to attack the Latin American country.
Many Venezuelans have been exposed to the violations of their rights in countries where there isn't such a strong commitment to this, as there is the Bolivarian Revolution in this country, where it's important, historical, and forceful.
11,000 Venezuelans have already returned home because of the lack of opportunities in the countries they have left for. The majority return hoping to study, work, and bring prosperity to Venezuela.
And in Brazil, a new social media app is transforming the work of informal trash collectors. The Kataki app allows trash collectors to register on their social media platform. Then, people in their area use the app to flag a collector to come to the residence or business to pick up trash or recyclables. Collectors are paid by the kilo for recyclable materials. The app's creators hope it helps trash collectors to earn extra cash.
There are already registered collectors in more than 191 Brazilian cities. It's a network of over 1,000 collectors who are getting calls from people who want to recycle every day.
Before the app, I almost never got calls to pick up recyclables or trash. But since the app, people start calling me to pick up recyclables and rubbish.
And an initiative in the heart of the Peruvian Amazon is seeking to reforest timber trees. A Spanish researcher has managed to naturally germinate threatened lumber trees like mahogany and Peru's native chihuahuaco on a large scale. The project could help tackling deforestation. In the first 6 months of 2018, the Peruvian Amazon lost over 23,000 hectares of forest. And the government of Puerto Rico has announced that 80% of the bridges and roads destroyed by Hurricane Irma and Maria have been repaired. Authorities say that most of the repair works are finished despite the financial crisis the government faces. The estimated cost of the work was over $350 million. Hurricanes Irma and Maria devastated the Caribbean island in 2017. Thousands of Cuban worshippers have paid homage to Saint Lazarus at his sanctuary in Havana. The St. Lazarus pilgrimage is one of the most important religious events on the island. Devotees flock to the shrine to ask the saint to cure related ailments. The cult of St. Lazarus melds Afro-Cuban faith with Roman Catholic beliefs. And residents in rural areas of the Ixcan community in Guatemala are condemning the hiring of ghost companies for the construction of infrastructure projects that are never finished.
These residents are outraged for the scams they say they suffer at the hands of the authorities of Ixcan in Quiche about a request they made for the maintenance of the 25-kilometer road that connects their community.
It's been a series of fake promises and lies, because the repair works for the road don't move forward.
Residents say they have taken to the streets because they have found out that at the beginning of 2018, the municipality awarded the repair project to different private companies on 2 separate occasions.
The thing that worries us is that these projects were not executed in our communities.
The maintenance project for the 25-kilometer road is valued at more than $38,000. It was awarded to the construction company FtS, but according to residents, remains incompleted.
We have never seen these companies. The mayor has never shown a document proving these companies even exist.
Communities have been denouncing the fact that the Ixcan municipality is working with a group of ghost companies that have been awarded the majority of infrastructure projects that have been left behind.
We keep calling and they never pick up. We need to know if these companies are real or whether all of this is fake and these companies do not exist.
In Guatemala, they call all the projects that are never finished by authorities a monument to the corruption.
We'll be back very soon. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Nigerian army has called for the closure of Amnesty International offices in Nigeria, accusing it of working to destabilize the country. A statement by an army spokesperson said the organization's attempts to destabilize the nation were noted through what he called fabrication of fictitious allegations of alleged human rights abuses. The Egyptian president and his Austrian counterpart have presided over the signature of a memorandum of understanding in Vienna. The agreement was signed by ministers of both countries during the visit of Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to Austria. Accords were made in sectors such as finance, technology, and infrastructure. El-Sisi said both presidents also discussed issues important to the region, including migration. And also in Austria, African and European leaders have met at the start of a 2-day forum. The conference aims to grow collaboration between Africa and the European Union. The Austrian government, which presides over the EU until the end of the year, organized the summit. Turkey has threatened to launch new unilateral action in Syria against the Kurdish YPG organization. The US-backed YPG have been fighting against the Islamic State group. During a speech in the province of Konya, President Erdogan said he has US support for the operation.
Last week, we officially announced that we will start a military operation on the east of the Euphrates. Now we are following it up. We discussed this with Mr. Trump and got a positive response. So we are moving forward. Until the last terrorist in the region is neutralized, we will comb through Syrian territory, inch by inch.
Reconstruction of the Al-Nouri Mosque and its famous leaning minaret has begun in the Iraqi city of Mosul. A ceremony has been held to celebrate the laying of the mosque's new cornerstone. The 12th century national emblem was destroyed last year in fighting with the Islamic State group. The repairs are expected to be completed in 2 years' time. Germany has approved a law to include a third gender option on official documents. A new intersex or diverse gender option will be included on documents such as birth certificates and driving licenses. Until now, the alternative for people who do not consider themselves male or female was to fill the gender entry. Yellow Vest protesters have rallied in front of the Rungis International Market in Paris, the world's largest wholesale food market. Protesters were joined by tourism vehicle for hire drivers to slow down traffic entering the market. The Interior Minister has called on Yellow Vest protesters to stop demonstrating, citing safety on roads.
Last week we started to evacuate some roundabouts. We will continue doing so. You know, there was an 8th dead on Saturday. It was in Avignon, a young man, a 23-year-old Yellow Vest. The day before that, there was a young woman in an accident who was driving up to a roundabout, which was being occupied with no warning ahead of it. So she died. 8 deaths. I don't know of any social unrest in the past 30 years, which has killed so many people. So I say it loud and clear, enough is enough. For the safety of Yellow Vest protesters themselves, it's enough for the security of the French, and it's enough for the safety of our security forces.
The leader of the British Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, has said his party has tabled a vote of no confidence in Conservative Prime Minister Theresa May. Corbyn says he made the move because May failed to hold a meaningful Brexit vote as promised.
This is unacceptable in any way whatsoever. So, Mr. Speaker, as the only way I can think of ensuring a vote takes place this week, I am about to table a motion which says the following: that this House has no confidence in the Prime Minister due to her failure to allow the House of Commons to have a meaningful vote straight away on the withdrawal agreement and framework for future relationships between the UK and the European Union. And that will be tabled immediately, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank the Leader of the Opposition for what he's said.
And earlier, Prime Minister Theresa May announced that the parliamentary vote on Brexit will take place on the week of January 14th. May also discarded a second referendum. She says that another vote on Brexit would create divisions and make citizens lose faith in politics. The Prime Minister postponed the vote on Brexit in Parliament last week as she couldn't secure a majority.
Must be heard. And all that I think that
a zoo in the UK has launched a list of its top 10 newborns from 2018. In a video, the Chester City Zoo features critically endangered species such as western chimpanzee Stevie, the UK's first ever sun bear cub, and a clutch of rare babies forest dragons. The zoo lost a number of exotic animals after a fire broke out last Saturday. And with the arrival of holidays in Catalonia, the famous and powerful are being depicted in a uniquely Catalan way. Hand-painted statues with their pants down can be found hidden within traditional nativity scenes. Whilst any known figure can be depicted, a special place is reserved for politicians. And India is celebrating a 2-day festival to honor man's best friend. Indians are bringing their dogs and other pets to this festival in New Delhi. This is India's biggest pet festival where puppies could find a place to make friends and enjoy their time outside. And with that story, we've come to the end of this news brief. These and other stories, as always, find them on our website at telesorenglish.net. And also join us on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. For Telesur English, I am Estefania Bravo. Thank you for watching.